AdamHarry back again with another BoLS Retro Corner review. Today I have JR with me. Say hi.
Hi, how's it going?
And we're taking a look at the classic AD&D Player's Handbook. This is Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Some call it second ed, but it's old school, man.
Well, yeah, it's the edition that started it all. I mean, sure, there's basic D&D, but
there was Chainmail before that. Whatever.
This is the one we're flipping through.
This is the one that took off, in our opinion, anyway. And really kind of, helped stoke the fires of the 1980 Satanic Panic and a bunch of other fun things that happened with D&D. But, I mean, look at that cover art. Who would think that this had anything to do with the devil? I don't...
Without this book, we wouldn't have had the Carlos the Dwarf episode of Freaks and Geeks.
That's true. That's a classic episode. And we wouldn't have had that horrible Tom Hanks movie, which was pretty terrible. Anyway.
Stranger Things would have been weird.
Yeah, that show would have been super awkward. So here we have just flipping through the front cover here, AD&D, old school stuff. Again, this was originally copyright in 1978.
And you'll note that the wizard blowing smoke rings is sitting on his six-sided die.
Oh, Did you notice that, folks? There you go. So this is classic. Again, excuse our book copy. It is a little water damaged. That's what happens when things are old. So it happens. Here's the original table of contents. This is a foreword, by the way, just saying like, hey, this is a game, and it's to be it's a game. It's not real.
It's not real.
I guess the people that got caught up didn't read the foreword or something. I don't know. Anyway, here's the table of contents. Jared, where should we even start, man?
Well, I think we should start where the book itself starts, which is the first thing you get is creating your character.
Oh, yeah.
And the first thing it talks about are stats, and then you talks about your race and your class and all of that stuff. But as we flip through, you'll notice there's a lot of text and not a lot of the art that you're used to seeing.
Yeah.
But there is some. Can we
check that one out?
Look at this guy.
Boom.
That is a
dude studying a spell book. Another guy blowing up an armoire a castle.
I think
it's a castle.
They're introducing the idea of a range of intelligence scores for Magic users there.
Yes. And this game was not written in a politically correct time, I think it's safe to say.
Yeah.
Right? There are some limitations based on your character race, which you actually had to roll the stats before you found out what race you were. Well, if you're doing it correctly. Anyway.
Right. And same with your sex too.
Yeah. Male and female had
if you look on the table here,
yeah,
you'll note that the maximum strength possible for a
female gnome character it looks like it's 15.
It's 15, but the male gnome is at 18/0 or /50.
Yeah.
Because that was the other thing about this edition was if you had exceptional strength. If you got an 18, it wasn't enough to just have an 18. You had to distinguish yourself in a number of ways. You rolled a percentile dice, and then based on what you got, you ended up in one of these categories here.
Yes. If you notice too, this whole strength table, we're just talking about this for a minute. You've got your hit probability. You had your minuses and pluses and all that stuff like that. Notice here, this is very different from 5th ed D&D, pretty much 3rd edition too, from there forward. You notice here your hit probability changed. It's not the standard +1 every
Well, that would be your attack bonus, right?
Yeah.
But no, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very different chart, and then your damage adjustment also went up, and it's just very odd.
You don't get the flat stat bonus, which is subtract 10 divided by 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So welcome to AD&D. It's just a different game. Lots of rules for creating characters. Again, the intelligence table, same thing. You had to roll if you did the by the book procedure. You actually had to roll all your stats. You got 3d6, and you just rolled, and whatever you rolled
was what your character was.
And you were supposed to go stat by stat. So there was no such thing as a point by. There was no such things as stat matrices. You weren't allowed extra rerolls, or the 4d6 dropped the lowest.
I mean, everyone did anyway, but
yeah, totally.
Also worth noting is that a lot of classes had minimum requirements.
Yes.
So you say you wanted to play a paladin, you better hope that you have a 13 or more on your wisdom score.
Yep. Same thing for, again, the racial classes. Mm-hmm. If you rolled really poorly, say your intelligence here, an 8, that's the minimum intelligence for an elf character. So if you wanted to play an elf, you had to roll at least an 8 on your intelligence. It's just things like that.
Yeah.
So, and then it goes on there. Again, we have the awesome artwork in the corner of the wizard tripping. I love it. It's almost like somebody was just doodling these pictures, the art in this book. Like they got like a textbook and they just kind of doodled in the margins in some places. Yeah, here's the Constitution again. Same. You notice that it's all racial based, or minimums and maximums. Also for classes.
Yeah, a lot of, so basically the way it works here is instead of the standard like 11 classes, they had really 5 classes, and then all the other ones that we know and love were subclasses thereof. So like Paladin and Ranger were subclasses of fighters.
Yeah.
And they also had a few that you see now as like prestige classes or something like that. Like
sure.
The Assassin was a subclass of Thief. The Illusionist was it was its own class. It had a different like hit point progression and stuff like. Here, let's flip there.
Yeah. We got to talk about the races real quick before we talk about classes. So one other thing I want to point out on that chart, you had all the different classes, and then you actually had limitations on what races could be what classes. Humans could be any class. Dwarves could only be fighters, thieves, or assassins. Mm-hmm. So there was no such thing as a dwarven cleric, no such thing as a dwarven magic user, none of that stuff. That's just one of the examples. So again, based on what you rolled and based on what races you qualified for, it would qualify you for certain classes.
They also had level maximums too.
Yeah.
So like if you were a half elf, you could advance all the way up to max level as either like a druid or
a thief.
Yeah, but you capped out at
level 5 as a cleric for a half elf, and level 11 for an assassin. So it's just it was a very different thing. And the other thing too, we'll get to this later, but they also had different experience charts and
they did.
All the different classes. So let's keep flipping through here.
Here it kind of gives you a breakdown of what the races are like. Pretty standard stuff.
It's funny because if you look at a current PHB, these whole sections are like 2 or 3 pages long with big art spreads and stuff like that. If you were an elf, you got like 10 paragraphs and that was it. Just like this whole section to this whole section, that was it. That's all for all the elf background you wanted to know.
Yep. So. And you had to roll up your character uphill both ways in the snow.
It's true. Here's one of my favorite pieces of art from this book actually, is just the different what people look like.
Yeah.
So I always liked that the human had the 70s stash.
Oh man.
Yep. And the half elf was
he is fresh off the set of a cop show. Like
seriously pull over.
Hey guys, I just finished my shooting of Miami Vice.
Look at that dwarf though. Like he's clearly short, but he's very stout looking. Totally. He's totally kind of ripped for that art style. And then again that half orc in the background looked like a Cleon to me. I don't know.
A little bit, yeah.
And he's got the brow furrows going on there. So anyway, it's one of my favorite pieces of art. Are we still going through the classes here?
Yeah.
They also had limitations on armor, which they still do. But
oh yeah, they still do armor and weapons. They are much more specific because instead of like simple weapons or martial weapons or things like that, like everyone had limits on like what they could use here. Clerics and druids all have very specific lists.
Yep. I know clerics weren't allowed to use sharp weapons because it was all about cutting stuff. And
right.
They weren't allowed to do that. But as you see here, here's our first example of the experience table. I want to point this out to you. For a level 1 cleric to get to level 2, you had to get 1,500 plus to 1 hit points. Or sorry, hit points. XP. If you look over here at cleric druid, you had to go 2,000 to get over level 1. So it was just a very different game. Like
it's true.
Everybody gained levels at different rates.
The thing I really like though is that at each level you got like a different title. I think that's one of the coolest things about the game is like you definitely felt like you were getting more powerful as you leveled up.
I feel like some of the classes also kind of got the short end of the stick, and some of them
for sure.
got more attention when it came to the name changes. For example, the cleric pretty much has new names for most of the classics leveling up. It's until you get to High Priest, then it's High Priest, and then it's a 10th level High Priest, and then 11th level High Priest. The Druid just goes from Aspirant to Ovate to Initiate of the first circle, and then all the way down to the 9th circle. Like, it's copy-paste. Come on, guys.
And if you want to be a Druid, like TM, you have to get all the way to level 12 before you're a Druid.
Yeah, and then Archdruid, and then the Great Druid. There's probably only one.
Oh yeah, no, that was the thing. Like there was only one great druid, and like you had to join a circle of druids, and there was like a whole thing that you had to go through.
Fighters, on the other hand, they got a bunch of cool titles. They had a veteran, a warrior, swordsman, all the way down. You have a swashbuckler, a myrmidon,
a superhero.
A superhero. Wouldn't you like to be a level 8 fighter to be called a superhero? Yes.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that is one thing this game does pretty well though. It sort of emulates the world that this all takes place in pretty handily.
Because if you're a level 8 fighter in old D&D, you pretty much
are a superhero, yeah.
Here's another one. Here's the Paladin titles. Gallant, Keeper, Protector, Defender, Warden, Guardian, Chevalier, Justicar, and then an actual Paladin. So you can see a lot of those became prestige classes.
It's true, they did.
So
like a lot of modern stuff comes out of, original D&D.
Yeah, and again, the XP level for a Paladin, 2750 to get past level 1. You had to get a lot of XP, especially when it works for like 25 a pop.
You did get a lot as a Paladin though. Like you say, some of the classes are very clearly better than the other. Like the difference in philosophy is like 4th and 5th edition and stuff are kind of trying to have a balanced game to where like if you're playing a fighter or if you're playing a wizard, like you can deal with the same threats and you can all kind of you have the same basic power level, although arguably wizards get much better as you go on. But like paladins were straight up better than some of the other classes.
Yeah, and again, based on your stats, there's no point buy. There was just your stats qualified you for your race and your class, and then you could, if you rolled crappy, you were stuck with a bad character until you killed them off on purpose. Not saying that ever happened. I totally did that. Let's move on. Magic users, there's their spell table. Again, this is much more simplified.
Yeah.
I like how it goes to magic user level 29 here, but if you look at the wizard level, it stops at 18.
Well, no, then so you could get like
more.
A new
you could level up
every,
beyond. But your title at that point was already Archmage, and
Well, yeah, because you're the Archmage. I mean, before that, you were a Necromancer, or a
Invoker,
or a Thaumaturgist.
Yeah.
Or a Theurgist, but that's Mystic Theurge later.
I do want to call it out. You did have, every level had that unlimited cap. So there's a certain point where you basically just had to keep gaining, the wizard, or the magic user, had to get 375,000 experience points for each level after 18. But that's why they did that whole chart.
Well, and you got to remember, like, the way that the game was played when it first came out. Like, they were campaigns that would go on for a while, or you'd like take your character from one campaign to another. Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson and all the old TSR guys used to like play in each other's games, and they'd take turn being DM for each other.
That's how you're supposed to do it, man.
Yeah,
it's fun.
That's how you'd get characters like Mordenkainen was.
Was one of the characters.
Wizards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, again, we love the art, but that arm is really long.
That guy's nickname is Stretch.
Yep. Classic. The Thief. Anyway, we're going to move through the rest of this part kind of quick. Minimum fees for assassination.
Possibly the best table in the book, because it is dependent both on the level of the assassin and the level of the victim.
Right?
So...
I feel like the level 1 assassin getting charged to kill a level 7 through 9 character, he was cutting himself short there. Only charging 250 gold?
Well, because he's level 1. I mean, are you going to pay more than 250 gold for a level 1 assassin? I would.
That's true. I was thinking the risk versus reward for the assassin, but really it's
all about like what the market will bear. These are market rates.
That's market rates. That makes sense. It makes a lot more sense. I wouldn't pay this guy. Well, you'd hire the low anyway. You're right. It's all about the market rate.
Yeah, well, if you want, I mean, you know, you're paying a level 15 assassin to take out a level 1 guy. Like, you must either really hate him or want to make sure he's dead.
Right. And they also had monks. Monks were classic race.
Yeah, monks were awesome.
Multi-classing, still a big thing. Yeah, we're not even going to get into all that, but that was definitely something that was complicated.
It was so weird. Well, so, okay. There was a difference because you could do multi-classing and you could do dual classing. So multi-class characters were how the demi-human characters, or I think in this edition they were semi-humans, but you know,
whatever. Yeah.
How the not human guys got around their level limitations because you could be multi-class. So like you could have cleric fighter or
cleric assassin,
right? Which is kind of a cool character to play. But and like you could gain levels sort of at different rates. If you were a dual class, you could only do that by being a human. You basically level up to a certain point, then you would start at level 1 on a new character or on a new class, right? And you would kind of temporarily forget your old class's abilities, and instead you would gain levels as though, like, say I were a level 15 fighter and I became a wizard. I would forget that I was a level 15 fighter and still have all my hit points and my stats and stuff.
Right.
But until I caught back up as a wizard, in which case I'd have the abilities of both, and it was just mega awesome times
bonkers.
all the time. Yeah.
So dual classing was very different from multi-classing. Alignment, it goes to the classic alignment charts, chaotic evil, chaotic good, all that fun stuff. True neutral, which is my least favorite alignment, by the way, true neutral. Because I never can trust those guys. You never know what they're going to do. Whose side are you on? I don't know. Got to keep balance. Character hit points, character languages, and all that fun stuff. Money. Everybody had different starting money, which was interesting.
Well, I think that was a thing for like a while.
Yeah.
It wasn't until, I mean, now in 5th edition you get like starting equipment based on your class or whatever. But yeah. I remember rolling d4s and multiplying by 10 to figure out what I was going to get.
I also like the monetary system just to make it extra complicated. 10 copper was 1 silver, 20 silver was 1 gold, just to...
Yeah.
And then 2 electrum pieces was 1 gold, and then 1 platinum piece was equal to 5 gold. Just to make it fun for fractions, because everybody loves fractions, right?
And that's what D&D is all about.
It's all about that.
Also, this edition, I guess, and for a while, up until maybe 3rd, you had the laundry list of pole arms. You had you had the glaive, the bill, the glaive gisarm, the gisarm valve, the trident, the pike, the all pike, the lucerne hammer.
There's more stuff. I wanted to get to this chart, which is what you were just talking about. All the different pole arms.
Yeah.
They also had their length. It wasn't just 5-foot squares.
Oh no, well, because the game was super detailed. Like they had rules for everything, including how much space you had to have free to wield your weapon effectively, how fast it was, because like different weapons swung at different speeds,
which would affect your initiative. And
exactly.
All that stuff. Yeah. And by the way, all of the charts for those type of things, you think would be important for the players to kind of figure out?
Oh yeah, like hey, what is my to hit, right?
Yeah, or what's my AC? Like I can figure my AC, but what do I need to roll to hit my AC?
Or my to hit an armor class of 0.
Where would I find those charts at? Not in this book.
No, that's all the DM only information.
DM only. You didn't need to know that as a player.
You were the complete adjudicator of the world.
That's right. You could make people miss just because you felt like it. Anyway.
A lot of friendships got broken up.
Yeah, it does have stuff like your armor class adjustments and things like that. So, henchmen and distances. The next part of the book is spells.
Yeah.
For about 2/3 of this book, just like modern D&D.
Every D&D.
D&D is dedicated to spells. We're not going to read off all the spells, but did you have a particular favorite from this edition, JR?
Yeah, it is not the best, but my favorite is the classic alphabetical first level spell effect, normal fires. So it's not pyrotechnics, because that one is actually good.
Okay.
And it's not like...
it's also divvied up in a different way. It goes through all of the cleric spells, all of the druid spells, and then all the magic user spells. It's not alphabetical. It's done by section.
Well, it's alphabetical by section.
Yeah, once you get into those sections, so he's got to skip all the way. My personal favorite, classic fireball. You can't go wrong with that one.
Can't go wrong with that one.
Magic missile also
Speaking of.
Yep.
Oh, I guess that's dancing lights, but whatever.
Close enough.
So yeah, affect normal fires. You can cause small fires to either get real small or get real big, and it doesn't actually affect the fire. It just affects the light of them.
It doesn't affect. Let's see.
It means they'll burn like.
Oh, reducing the fire will cut fuel consumption to half normal. Increasing the fire will double the consumption. Note the heat output is not altered in either case.
And that kind of exemplifies what the philosophy for this edition was, because they were creating a game that sort of mirrored the real world. Like, they were like, okay, no, we've got to like make sure that this is in there and that this makes sense. And
we're going to be camping, so how long do these logs burn?
Exactly.
Oh, well, we got to figure that out real quick. And I'm pretty sure there's a chart somewhere that's going to talk about that.
You know, now you have stuff that's a little more streamlined, but that's kind of what they were thinking of here. It's you will read like people talking about Gygaxian naturalism or whatever, and that's basically what it is. It's like, how do these real world things that might not come up in every game, how are they modeled in our rules?
Yeah, but anyway. It was really extremely well detailed.
Like,
for
sure.
the time. Obviously, you can tell there's lots of dense text to read through, but it was all in there, like everything you're talking about. We're gonna skip ahead a little bit because again, the magic user, the spells just keep going, keep going, and yeah. And finally, after about that many pages, at least 60 pages, we get to the adventuring part of the book. This talks about, as the player, what you know about adventuring and stuff like that, and talks about encumbrance, which most people don't really take into account these days because it's kind of just bookkeeping. Notice the game's just got a lot more streamlined over time.
It's true.
But it is a thing. Again, like Jerry was saying, there's that whole concept of how is reality mirrored in our game, and encumbrance is a real thing.
Yeah, and it talks about like what you can do in the different places too. You know, so it's like if you were in a town, here's what you can do.
Yeah. Like if you had just killed a dragon and raided their horde and found like 50 gold bars, first off, how are you going to carry those? Because that's going to hit your encumbrance. And secondly, you go to a town, they may not be able to take your gold bars as currency because like.
Or you'd get robbed. That was
probably
that was a thing. Well, for example, right here it says, "Care must be taken in all one says and does." And my favorite line in the book, "And what lies in wait in the deserted ruins of some lost ancient city? Meat and drink for the doughty advanced D&Der."
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going through the movement. 60 feet around. Yeah. One round was 1 minute. Segment was 6 seconds. So, yeah. You see a lot. That's still around.
Yeah, that is. They just changed round to turn and segment to round for thirds, and then now it's all just a round is 6 seconds, and a minute is 10 rounds.
Oh, I like this too. Ultravision. They had ultravision, infravision. I just like that they still have those.
But yeah,
dark vision now.
This is a classic example of like, we're explaining how this game mechanic mirrors the real world. So like ultravision was not just you can see in the dark, it was you were looking at ultraviolet light.
Yes.
Infravision was you were seeing the infrared spectrum of light. Like,
yes.
It got super detailed.
Yeah. Which is, again, for those of you, infravision's for heat. And ultravision was literally radiation. So like the gamma rays and stuff or ultraviolet light. Think like the Predator uses infravision to hunt people and ultravision to, I don't know, see through walls.
Well, no.
Yeah, it's X-rays too.
Yeah, it is. That's true. That's true.
Yeah. It's weird, man, but it was cool.
It is cool.
Yeah. Tips, tricks, and counters and stuff like that. Again, this is the combat section. Notice no rules of how to actually calculate your to-hit scores or anything like that. All of that stuff. It gives
examples of what they are and different actions you can do. Worth noting, you could spend some time parrying and stuff.
Participants in Melee can opt to attack, parry, fall back, or flee. You had options.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just, I'm going to attack, I'm going to withdraw. It was like, I'm going to parry. Parry was weird because it disallows any return attack that round, but the strength to hit bonus is then subtracted from the opponent's
Well,
hit.
it's like
price
fighting
roll.
defensively.
Yeah, exactly. Which, hey, that's cool stuff, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where all the modern mechanics kind of originated here. They just got refined.
Yeah. Cool stuff. And then I think from there we get to one of the most headache-inducing appendixes, I think. Psionics.
I see what you did there.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because anybody could have psionic powers. Because this was like if you had a mental stat of 16 or more, I think, you got a chance to have psionic powers of some kind.
That's right.
And boy, did they use them all the time. Like, I wonder what their home campaigns were like, because like all of this was because someone was like, no, I want to see if I'm psionic. No, I want to see if I'm psionic.
Yeah. I can read your mind, man.
Uh-huh.
I can read it. But yeah, it was yeah.
There was a lot of cool stuff. Like you had body weaponry, which let you change the molecules in your body to function like you were, like a weapon.
Yeah. I'll be honest, this was probably my least favorite part of the book, just because Psionics I felt a little overpowered and dumb. But that's just my opinion, man. So relax. But yeah, you could do cool stuff like telekinesis and telepathy.
And probability travel, which is just you go to the astral plane, but your actual body comes along with you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's fun times.
And then you have bards, because they were a special thing, that they were their own special.
Bards,
like you
always
had to
thinking
get
they're
approval
special.
from the DM to play it, and like if you wanted to qualify to be a bard, you had to start as a fighter, and you had to get to level 5, and then you had to become a thief. Before you became 8th level as a fighter, you had to be a thief. And then once you got to 5th or 9th level there, you leave behind thieving and become a druid. Then, once you're a druid, you become a bard under druidic tutelage. So as long as you did all of that, remained neutral, at least in one part of your alignment, you got to be a bard.
Was it worth it?
No. Almost certainly not.
Yeah.
I mean, you got like all the abilities of the other classes before, and
Sure.
It was,
I never understood the love of the bard, but
I think bards are great.
they are now. Like, yeah, bards now are great, but I never understood the appeal.
You never played with skills and powers, my friend.
That's true.
You
I was
never
not a fan.
played
I also
with
like
skills and powers.
one last thing. I also like that chart that had. Oh, where was it?
The alignment thing?
Yes. Oh, the planes. We didn't show this. We gotta show that off.
Yeah, how could we miss
Wait,
that?
let's show the plane. Let's show this character alignment graph real quick. So we wall. All right. So there's that. That's cool. But that talking about the planes, the known planes of existence. You had the inner planes, which is kind of where the prime material plane is. That's where we all hang out. You had the outer planes, which had all these,
They were all the places.
Yeah.
All the places you would go, like Limbo or Elysium or
The seven
Gehenna.
heavens.
Yeah.
The 666 layers of the abyss of absolute chaotic evil.
There's an 8th level fighter.
Yep. A little fighter. Yeah.
Superhero.
It's true. I see what you did there. Then you also had ethereal and astral combat, astral travel, because of course you could.
You could do that. You had the silver cord, and like a vorpal sword could cut it.
Yeah.
And there's, everyone.
How to do magic
divvying up the
items.
Treasure.
Suggested agreements for division of treasure, because that always works. But yeah, it was really cool. And then they have the quick reference, was just a lot of the monetary system stuff, and then weapon types and things like that. So, again, one of the real rules though, you had to go be a DM and get the DMG. So.
Hey, we've got a copy of that book laying around
We
here
do.
somewhere.
Maybe that'll be next time. Also, Gen Con call out. But that's pretty much it. That's our little trip through the Player's Handbook. Hope you enjoyed it, man. That was good times. Brings back some memories for me, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, I'm AdamHarry from BoLS Souls.
And I'm JR from BoLS Souls.
Thanks again for watching. Have a good one.